All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're doing a full-on autopsy of one of the most spectacular, mind-boggling digital publishing disasters we've seen in the modern era. We are looking at a startup that promised to be the undisputed Netflix for books. I mean, they raised an unbelievable amount of venture capital, disrupted an entire industry on paper, and then they evaporated into thin air almost overnight. Using the Crayon Capital narrative blueprint, we're going to completely unpack the psychology, the overwhelming hubris, and the fundamentally broken math that led to this catastrophic collapse. $500 million. Just let that number sink in for a second. That is the literal mountain of venture capital thrown at a very simple, incredibly seductive pitch. Every book ever written right in your pocket for just $10 a month. You know, in the era of streaming video and music dominating the cultural zeitgeist, this sounded like the inevitable evolution of reading. It was the all-you-can-eat buffet brought directly to literature. But the investors pushing this massive pile of money across the table were so captivated by the sheer scale of the dream, honestly driven by this intense fear of missing out on the next big tech unicorn, that they skipped step one. They completely forgot to check if the basic math actually worked in the real world.
Part 1. The $500 million illusion.
Part 2. The visionary archetype. You know, almost every great corporate disaster in recent history, think of the whole Theranos fiasco and that supposedly revolutionary blood test. It all begins with a founder carefully crafting this disruptor persona. Silicon Valley investors absolutely eat that up. They love a rebel who confidently tells them the old ways of doing things are entirely dead. It's a masterclass in CEO hubris. And this is exactly what happens when pure charisma is substituted for actual competence, simply because that's the easiest way to attract cash. The fake-it-till-you-make-it mindset just takes total control. Imagine the founder practicing their pitch in the mirror, boldly claiming they're going to fundamentally revolutionize the way humans consume knowledge. But the grounded reality? It was starkly different. They were essentially just a middleman for ebooks, and the major publishers absolutely loathed them. Yet, the founder was out there insisting that losing $20 on a user who read 2 books wasn't a financial loss. No, they called it, quote, revolutionary advanced science. Part 3. The Edison of ebooks. So step inside the glass walls of their sleek, minimalist headquarters, and you'd hear them relentlessly touting their crown jewel reading algorithm. This was supposedly the holy grail of data, this highly advanced system perfectly designed to predict reading habits and optimize publisher payouts. But let's look at the actual mechanics here, because it reveals an elaborate magic trick. They collected a flat $10 a month from a user, right? That's the absolute revenue cap. However, the exact second that user read past the 20% mark of any given book, the company owed the publisher the full retail price of that title. Let's really break down why this completely breaks the subscription model. If you sign up for $10 and read just 2 $15 books in a single month, the company's instantly bleeding $20. It's the classic power user problem. The more successful the service is at actually getting people to read, the faster the company goes broke. Publishers aren't software companies, right? Their margins are paper thin. They require upfront capital to pay authors and printers. So when a tech company comes along and says, hey, we'll pay you full retail, the publishers happily agreed, knowing full well the tech company would foot the massive bill. It's literally the all-you-can-eat buffet where the restaurant pays the farmer full retail price for every single carrot you eat. I mean, come on, that is not a sustainable business algorithm. That is a financial bonfire built on a total misunderstanding of business-to-business versus business-to-consumer economics.
Part 4. The shadow government.
So how do you actually raise $500 million for a business that bleeds money the faster it grows? Well, you put together a board of highly influential venture capitalist power brokers. These were high-profile folks who deeply understood influence, hype, and aggressive scaling, but lacked any foundational knowledge of the deeply entrenched publishing industry. Because of this unchecked power and immense top-down pressure, the internal culture rapidly morphed. It became this toxic echo chamber where belief entirely replaced proof. It was basically a tech startup version of North Korea. In this hyper-pressurized environment, employees were explicitly banned from asking basic questions about the business model or the failing unit economics. Inside those walls, the mythological narrative they pitched to investors became the unquestionable truth, completely insulated from actual market realities. And the cognitive dissonance inevitably reaches a breaking point. Listen to how wild this gets. Imagine a totally desperate accountant running into the office, waving a massive red flag, practically shouting that the monthly burn rate is hitting $10 million with zero actual profit on the horizon. And the executive's response? Simply dismissing the concern with, you know what? You're not a team player. Don't you see the grand visions of the future? When the famous Silicon Valley mantra of moving fast and breaking things literally just means breaking your own bank account, you have a massive structural problem. When legitimate financial panic is just written off as a lack of innovation, that ship is already underwater.
Part 5, The Reckoning.
But look, every lie eventually crashes into the truth, right? A massive valuation might look incredibly impressive on a pitch deck spreadsheet, but if it fundamentally defies reality, the collapse is going to be swift and it's going to be brutal. Step 1. The publishers, the essential entities providing the actual product, realize this supposed miracle platform is operating entirely as a parasite. They realize this app was actually cannibalizing their own profitable direct sales. I mean, why buy a new hardcover for $30 when you can just read it on this app for $10? The platform was actively destroying the publisher's primary revenue streams. So, step 2. The publishers, totally fed up and needing to protect their bottom line, pull their extensive catalogs, abruptly severing the lifeblood of the service. And finally, step 3, without books to offer, the app just goes completely dark.
And just like that, boom, the highly funded illusion shattered completely. They had sold the world on a revolutionary dream that was, in reality, just a $500 million pile of unread digital paper. And the fallout was immense. This wasn't just the failure of one company. It was a total indictment of an entire era of zero-interest rate venture capital, where growth at all costs completely blinded highly educated people to basic middle school arithmetic. The so-called visionaries at the helm were left with absolutely nothing. Silent servers, thousands of empty user accounts, completely broken trust within the publishing industry, and just the devastating remnants of false hope. They burned through $500 million of capital without leaving a single meaningful innovation behind.
Part 6. The final lesson. As we look back at the wreckage, the core truth we must always remember is incredibly simple. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Whether a company is claiming to completely eradicate disease with a single drop of blood or selling an all-you-can-read subscription model that brazenly defies basic unit economics, the rule applies equally. If a business leadership team replaces solid math with relentless hype, it's never a matter of if the house burns down. It's just a matter of when. So the next time you see a revolutionary startup making major headlines, promising you the world for pennies a month, or demanding you invest in the next big disruptor, take a step back and ask yourself, are they built on sound logic and real evidence, or are you just watching the next $500 million illusion waiting to go completely dark?